task for any number of arguments.
Perfect. Anyone else? Okay. So yeah, as someone just mentioned, a function is a block of reusable code that performs a specific task. So basically, it is used to basically not write certain functionality again and again. So for example, if you want to write a code to add two numbers, so you can just define a function like this. It takes in two arguments, which are the two numbers that you want to add, and it returns the addition of them. Now you can just call this function any number of times with different arguments and get the result, right? So you don't have to, so it sort of creates an abstraction for you to use again and again in the future. So if you just run this, what is, I'm printing the result. What is result? It is the addition of 5 and 10, and the output is 15. Now, what is method? Anyone has any idea about this? What is a method?
Now method is it, I mean, like you can perform, like in a list, you can, you can append something using list methods, dictionary methods. So it's like a kind of functionality for that function, or
So
no?
can you tell me in general what is a method? So just forget about lists, forget about dictionaries.
Yeah, I mean, you can achieve something using methods. You can alter the state of that object.
Okay. And what is the difference between a function and a method?
I know this, I forgot.
So you can think of a method as a function only, but a method is specific to an object. So a method, to create a method, you actually need an object. What is an object? It is an instantiation of a class. So if someone is not familiar with object-oriented programming, you can skip this definition, but in simple language, you can understand that whenever you have an object, so an object can be any variable, which the type of which you have defined yourself, or it is already predefined in Python. So for example, a list is an object. A dictionary is an object. You can also define your custom objects based on your own classes as well. So if you have a list, you can apply this append function on this list. And initially the list was 1, 2, 3. If you append 4 into it, 4 gets added to the end of the list. And the output is, when you print the list, the output should be 1, 2, 3, 4. Similarly, a string is also an object. So if you have a string, there's a method called upper. If you apply this to a string, it will return the uppercase value of the string. Okay. Now, just like I said, you can also define your own classes and make methods inside them. So for example, I've created a class called person. So is everyone here familiar about classes, or I can also explain about classes? So is anyone here not familiar with classes? Let's take that.
Yes, I'm not familiar with it.
Sure. So basically, what is a class? A class is a set of, let's say, methods and you can say variables. So let's say, should I give an example? So here, I'm trying to create a class called a person. Now, you know the basic data types, right? So basic data types like int, float, string. So think of a class as a new kind of data type, which is very custom, and you can define your own methods within it. So for example, you had this string or a list, it had its own methods predefined within Python, this upper method and the append method. So here you have the opportunity to actually define new methods for your own class. So for example, if you want a class called person, you can define a method called greet. And what this method does is, for any person, if you have the name and the age of the person, these things have to be defined as soon as an object of a person is created. So for example, I want to create an object of myself in this person class. So let's say, so let's say I want to create an object for myself. So I have already defined this person class. So what I can do is, let's say Ashit equals person. What do I have to give? The name and the age of myself. This is how I can define an object for myself. So my name is Ashit, my age is 24. So this will let me create an object of myself. This is my object. Now, what I can do is I can call this method on myself. What I can do is Ashit.greet. And what it is supposed to do is, it is supposed to print this this string. So it will print, hello, my name is Ashit and I am 24 years old. This is what it is supposed to print. So let's try that. See, so it is printing exactly that. So you can also use f strings in it. If someone is familiar with f strings, you can define an f string like this. Hello, Ashit. If you want to write Ashit, you can write self.name. You are self.age years old. If you write this, I'll just comment this. Now it should print this thing. Hello, Ashit, you are 24 years old. We can also go and read about this f strings. It is sort of useful. So I'll just type this here. If someone is interested, you can go ahead and read about this f strings. Now, so guys, please feel free to ask any questions if there are any. Similar thing, I have created an object for Alice, who is 25 years old. It will print the same similar thing like it did for Ashit. Now let's come to the arguments. What are arguments? So in any function, you have to define how many arguments it takes. You don't have to define what kind of arguments they are initially, especially in Python. So if you write any code in maybe C++ or C, right? So you actually have to define, if you're defining a function, you have to do like int num and string. I'm not sure what is string called in C++. So let's call it string only. So I know characters, so char, C, etc. So this is how you would actually define a function in any low level language, that is like C, C++ or Java. But in Python, you don't need to give these data types. It is a good practice to give the data types, but you are not needed to. Now, but this format of writing functions gives you a restriction, because you have to initially define how many parameters are there going to be. But how about you are able to write a function where you don't have to actually define the number of parameters that you are going to give? So that is where arbitrary arguments come into play. Can anyone suggest any way that I can write a function definition where I don't have to actually define how many arguments I have to give? Any ideas without using arbitrary arguments?
without using
Can you think something around using lists or dictionaries?
okay, yes, yeah, that's okay. So we can pass a list of names or a, yes, instead of passing individual names, like 100 names in a function, we can just pass a list of
Perfect.
name, then we can call that list.
Right. So let's say I want to write a function which just prints the like all the names that you give to it. So what I can do is print print names. This is the, let's say this is the function. And what you can actually do is give it a list of names. So here you'll actually only have just one variable, let's say my list. And in this list, it can be however long as you like. And it will just, it can just iterate on it. For name in my list, print name. Okay, so this is one way to do it. Another, and like a more Pythonic way of doing it, is using arbitrary arguments. So what you do is you just write this asterisk and then names. So it sort of treats name as a list only. So you can do a similar thing for name in names and then print. So if you do this, I'll just run this for you. And when I'm calling the function, I'll just give these names. I'm giving 3 names, and this is not a list. These are actually 3 names. So this will actually print for all the 3 names. Now let's understand a bit more on how this asterisk sign works. So this is actually called packing and unpacking in Python. So let's just go through this briefly. So let's say, just like the example I gave, let's say you have a list. Now you want to add these 4 numbers. One way is to write a function to just add 4 numbers, right? And let's say let's say you have this function which just takes in 4 numbers and returns the addition of these. Now this asterisk can be used as an unpacking operator. What does unpacking mean? It will unpack this list into its constituents. So if you want to unpack this list with 4 elements, and this is going to be unpacked into these 4 variables. So since there are this is a 1-to-1 match, these 4 elements are going to be matched to these 4 variables. So if you could just write this, it will work. And if you add 1, 2, 3, and 4, it will give out the result as 10.
Ashit, if
Yeah.
can we able to print on asterisk my list only?
Sure, you can print it. Let's see what it gives. So if you print this, let's see. Sorry. Yeah. So here you actually have to catch it, right? So let's try doing it like this. A comma B comma C comma D equals to asterisk my list. Let's see if this works. Okay, this is also not working. Let's see. Okay. So this actually works. For example, this says if you do, let's see. Yeah, so this doesn't work because it needs probably it needs to be used with the functions only, right? Any doubts?
No.
Okay.
And what will happen if we have 5? So in the function add, if we have 5 A, B, C, D, E, but
Right.
in the list we pass only 4 values.
Let's try it. So I'm also not an expert on this, so we can
It's all right, yeah.
let's try it. Let's see without adding plus E. Let's see
Yeah.
if it just ignores C. Let's see that. Right. So it is not able to do it because it requires this. So one way to avoid this is using a default parameter. So let's say I
Yes.
just do this, right? So
Or we can put none also, na?
yeah, we can do that. So so this is how it will work, and I'll just remove this for now. Now let's say another application of this asterisk symbol is, let's say you have these an arbitrary number of elements in the list, and you want to assign this to another arbitrary number of variables. So what this will do is, this you are mentioning this asterisk B. So what it does is it will assign the first and the last elements to A and C, and all the middle elements to B. So if you just see this outputs, A is 1, B is 2, 3, and 4, and C is 5. So B is actually a list now. Now we can just go back to the functions. So this is a function which takes in the size of the pizza and the list of toppings. So here, if you call it like this, 12, pepperoni, what it will do is the toppings list is just this value, and the size is this. So it is going to print making a 12-inch pizza with the following toppings, and that is only one topping, that is pepperoni. If you can also give multiple arguments. So these 3 arguments will go into the toppings variable, and here it will print it like this. So one thing to note is you can't, if you are giving like a normal variable, a normal argument, and also an arbitrary argument, this has to be the order. So you can't give the toppings argument before the size, because that is actually that is like ambiguous, because the variable number of arguments, because toppings, there's no limit to how many arguments you can give for toppings. So the Python does not know where to end the toppings and where does the size come in, right? So this is supposed to be the order. If you want to use normal arguments and arbitrary arguments, this is supposed to be the order. First there'll be the normal argument, and then there'll be a arbitrary argument. You can also use like multiple normal arguments and then the arbitrary argument. That is also a possibility. Now another kind of argument is the keyword argument. What is a keyword argument? You actually, whenever you call a function, you actually write argument equals to the value. Now this is done to like reduce the ambiguity, because you don't know which order the arguments were in the function. So that's why you explicitly mention what is the value of each argument. So this is actually a good way to write actual like production quality code, because this makes things a lot more clearer for the reader. So what this does is it takes into 2 normal arguments, and how are we calling it? We are calling it using the argument and the name and the value of the argument. You can.
I wanted to share one thing, Ali. There's one example for unpacking order. Just confirm this if this is like this. Open this. I've shared something. Like it has the asterisk signs. I wanted to understand like the code given here has the asterisk sign. It's just an example. Come to the last section of the page.
Yeah.
Here, horizontal lines. You see the
This one.
plot dot. This asterisk sign. So this is like unpacked. This is the same thing. Like
Yeah, so let's see the definition of H lines. Is this the definition?
no, H lines is just to make a horizontal line on the
So
plot. Actually,
we have to check the how is the function definition. Right?
you're right. You're right.
So if we can see H line.
We'll have to go separately. यहाँ पे नहीं होगा वो plot dot horizontal अलग से open करना पड़ेगा.
Okay, this is matplotlib. Okay. So what are the arguments here?
Arguments x min y x.
It requires many arguments. So what all we have given? We have given some list and the color. Okay. So this is the color, and probably these three values are that unpacking thing. Probably that's what I think. We'll have to check like what exactly is inside this.
It has 3 arrays actually. Results.half has 3
Okay,
arrays.
there are 3 arrays. Then probably these 3 are the ones. Then.
अच्छा नहीं हाँ ये भी हो सकते हैं. ये देखो 3 एरे 4 एरे हैं. पहला तो उधर जाना पेज पे सिग्नल वाले पे. रिजल्ट्स हाफ में 4 एरे होते हैं. क्या कहते हैं यू विल गेट पीक विड्थ, पीक हाइट एंड लेफ्ट बेस और राइट बेस. वो ऊपर भी दे रखा है इसमें. इट विल हैव मतलब जो रिटर्न करता है फंक्शन, इट इज गिविंग ऑल दीस थिंग्स कि क्या क्या रिटर्न कर रहा है.
Right, so these, yeah, so that is like really clear. So these 3 things are these 3 things.
Ashit, if you go back to that h of this function here, so see next to the matplotlib h line.
Yeah.
So here, see next to label, after label, there's a star just before data.
Right.
So I think it's coming from there. So it's got both the arguments. So a single asterisk and the double asterisk. So I think the single asterisk, it's coming from there. So you can pass in any arguments.
No, but these 3 are like compulsory arguments, right? So you have to give these. So that's why you can't make an
I see.
without these 3 arguments, right? Because the others are like default arguments. So most likely my hunch is like this thing. This consists of like three values. The 3 values are these 3 values.
ये बट रिजल्ट्स हाफ में तो एरे है ना. 3 एरे है मेरे पास.
Yeah,
रिजल्ट्स
so
हाफ
this
में 4 एरे हैं.
y is 1 array, x min is 1 array, x max is 1 array.
What's the definition of red half? Where is it defined? No, not here. I mean on the
This
here.
results half. This result half returns these 3 things: widths, width heights, and
Oh, okay, then that's
these
that
3
one.
Yeah.
लेफ्ट आईपी राइट आईपी.
Right. So let's get back. So where were we? Right. So this is clear, right? Let's see on the chat. Okay. So these are like keyword arguments. You can give each argument with the keyword. Now, if you want to call it without a keyword, you can just call it like this. So this will actually take in the arguments in the same order that it was defined. So the definition order was name and animal type. So now doggy is the name, dog is the animal type. This is going to be the default order. You can also mix positional and keyword arguments. So this max will be the name here, and animal type you can actually give it like this as well. This also works. But however, you cannot reverse this order. The keyword argument has to be towards the end. If there are multiple keyword arguments, they have to be towards the end. The positional arguments have to be towards the beginning. This is the rule. Now, this is Now this is another thing, that is the double asterisk. What this does is, this is also type of a keyword argument where this options is considered like a dictionary. So as we saw before, this, if you use a single asterisk, the ingredients variable is considered like a list, like we saw earlier over here, this toppings. So this toppings was considered as a list. Similarly, this ingredients will be considered as a list, and this options will be considered as a dictionary. Now, how do you call it? You call it like a normal keyword argument like this. So here the base is the first argument, that is strawberry. Ingredients are the next, all the arguments which are not keyword arguments, like positional arguments. So this banana and orange are within this ingredients. And after that, you have this options. So these are all the keyword arguments after this. So this thing will form into a dictionary. So you can just copy this thing and copy this into curly brackets, and this you can consider as options. This is equivalent to this. So so let's just call this. If you call this, what it results is making a strawberry smoothie. This was the base. These are the following ingredients: banana and orange, and these are the options. So here in the function, I have defined it as if sweetener is an options, then adding sweetener as a sweetener. So what is a sweetener? It is honey. So adding honey as a sweetener, adding whipped cream as a topping. So Python considers this as a dictionary now. Options, square bracket, sweetener. This is how actually you access a dictionary as well. You can try this. What's it? Okay, so the only difference is you have to replace this equals sign with the colon. And also give this in quotes. That's all. Now you can actually access the elements in this way. If you do options, square bracket, sweetener, it will give out honey. After this, there's something called a default parameter, as we saw earlier as well. So the default parameters are also supposed to be towards the end of the definition. So it can be the last one, this age, and last and the second last one, age and occupation. So what happens is you actually don't have to give these arguments in the function call. So if you just give this one argument, that is the name, which is not a default parameter, it will actually work. The other arguments are going to be assumed as the default values, 30 and programmer. So name, name, age, and occupation. Name Alice, age is 30, which was the default one, and the occupation is programmer. Similarly, the same thing here also. Here you are not using the default functionality. You're actually using it as a keyword argument. You are actually defining the age as 25 and occupation as teacher in the function call. So here it will override the default value and use these values instead. Now you can also mix all these kind of arguments into one function. So here what I've done is, this is a normal argument, like a positional argument. This is that thing like a list. Then this is a default argument. This is a keyword argument. So this order is actually important. If you want to mix and match everything, you have to follow this order. Now here you can actually get away with using just one argument here, because that is the only compulsory argument you need. So this is the base. Ingredients is supposed to be a list which can be empty, so you are not giving anything here. This is a default argument, it is not compulsory. Options is supposed to be a dictionary which can be empty as well. So if options is like empty, so whatever is inside this if, it won't even be run. So here, this is going to be the output, making a base smoothie with the following ingredients, making a strawberry smoothie with the following ingredients. And the sweetener is by default sugar. So adding sweetener as a sweetener. This ingredients list loop won't run. This if thing won't run. Any doubts till here?
But in the this thing options we can use as items, no? Option dot items or option dot keys.
Let's try that. Let's try that. I haven't tried it actually. So let's delete all this. We just want print options dot items. Okay. And let's make this make smoothie 2. Then I'll call this function. Now what I want to give is I have to give the base. So base is strawberry. Ingredients, I'll just give anything. Let's say A, this is my ingredient. Sweetener, I'll give sugar, that's okay. And for options, I'll give, let's say, this is like smoothie, right? So I'll give topping equals to banana. So that's it. This is dictionary with one value. So let's see what it does. Okay. Sorry, this colon. Okay, this actually works. So this actually works like a dictionary. Now, so yeah, I think that is it.
Item was a method. What dot item options dot item? What is
Sorry?
item? What is items here? Options dot items. Is it a predefined?
Yes. So it is a predefined method for dictionaries. So if you have any dictionary, let's say my dict, it is, let's say, name, Ashit, age, 24, city, Jeb. Okay, this is, let's say, my dictionary. Sorry, this is my dictionary. Now, if I just want to list all the items, I can do my dict dot items. So this will give out all like in a tuple form. So name Ashit, age 24, city Jaipur. There's also another method which is keys. This will give out all the keys. Name, age, city. There's another method called values. This will give out the values, Ashit, 24, and Jaipur. Also, make a note that all the data types are conserved here. So if Ashit was a string, this is actually a string as well. 24 was an integer, this is an integer. Jaipur was a string, this is a string. So that is it for the arguments and also functions and methods. So if there are any questions, please feel free to ask. Also, I'll share these codes. So the earlier codes as well. So day before yesterday, we covered the inbuilt functions. So that and this one as well. We'll share this via email.
मेथड्स फंक्शन में डिफरेंस यही है ना कि मेथड एक क्लास के अंदर होता है, फंक्शन आप सेपरेटली भी कर सकते हो.
Correct. So functions are in general functions like blocks of code which are like reusable, and methods are functions defined inside classes which can be used over methods, over objects.
तो फिर क्लास बनाने का फायदा क्या है? मतलब अगर क्योंकि मतलब मैं सीधा मेथड लिख दूं ना, मतलब यू अंडरस्टैंड व्हाट आई एम सेइंग. उसको क्लास में डालने का क्या जरूरत है?
So
एक function-
method can only be inside a class. You can't have a method independent of a class.
नहीं, but a method outside a class is a function, right? सेम ही चीज है ना, definition वो method और function देखा
So
जाए तो.
so it is actually a different thing. So method as a compulsory argument called self, which is linked to the object of the
self,
class.
अच्छा,
So you can't have a method outside a class.
अच्छा, वो self keyword जो use होता है.
Correct.
ठीक है.
Also, another thing I want to add for functions and classes. So with functions, you can define individual functions, right? But let's say you're trying to build a Python package or something, and if you want to group together all of these functions, basically convert them to methods, that's where you need classes, right? Because if you want to group together a bunch of things under one umbrella, right? And that's where classes comes in. Whereas here you can define individual functions and you can use them individually wherever needed. So that's another thing to keep in mind.
Right. So if I can give an example of this, so this is very useful when you are actually training some like models, machine learning models. So if you are making an application, so what you can do is maybe you can define a class for a model, and you can have like different methods inside it. One method can be used to train the model. One method can be used to make predictions. So for predictions, you'll actually have to read a model from memory. So one method can be to read a model and save it in an object. So you can do things like that using class and methods. So any questions, anyone? Or any feedbacks for today or day before yesterday? Okay, so do we have something in the chat? No. Yeah, thanks, Mithul. And let's wait till 10:15 and then let's wrap up. So if anyone has any questions, feel free to ask till then. Also, I would like to mention that that at Data to Production, we also offer one-on-one mentorships. So if you are interested in that, we'll send over a mail to you guys. And if you're interested in that, there'll be a form you have to fill. Feel free to fill that form. Yeah, Kiran. So these will be uploaded on the YouTube channel. We'll send you the link. Right. So also the next sessions, we'll continue to have these sessions. Next session will probably be on Python only. And so Mithul, can you remind me what exactly we'll be covering in that?
Yeah, so in the next session, we'll be covering about how to handle errors, so exception handling, and Lambda functions. So you have seen about functions today, so we'll go over what are Lambda functions and how do you convert functions into Lambda functions.
All right, then. Last call for questions. Okay, so let's wrap up. Thanks everyone for joining. See you soon in the next session.